Call to order the Wednesday, April 8th meeting of the Verona Plan Commission, and we'll begin with the roll call, please.
Commissioner Manley. Here. Alderperson Linder. Here. Commissioner Getz. Here. Mayor Holcomer.
Here.
And Commissioners Horsfall and Lytle are absent and excused, and Commissioner Heinzen will be about 5-10 minutes late.
Thank you for that, Mr. Sayre. Next, we have approval of minutes from the March 2nd meeting. Those minutes were included with your packet. What's your pleasure?
Move approval.
We have a motion by Mr. Manley. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Linder. Were there any questions or corrections on the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried and the minutes are approved. Next, I would accept the motion to open a public hearing for a conditional use permit to allow an apartment land use to be located on Lot 1 of the Scenic Ridge subdivision. The proposed conditional use permit would allow for the construction of a 45 apartment units on acre land. Do we have a motion?
Move to
We have a
open public
motion
hearing.
by Mr. Linder. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Manley. All those in favor of opening the public hearing signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. We are in the public hearing stage. Mr. Sayre, would you provide the background, please?
Thank you. This project was actually before the Plan Commission at their last meeting on March 2nd. At that meeting, I believe the Plan Commission voted 4-2 to recommend the project to the Common Council. It did go to the Common Council meeting on March 9th. The Council postponed action and actually re-referred it back to the Plan Commission. They also referred it back to the Public Works and Public Safety Commission and directed staff to complete a traffic analysis on West Chapel Royal Drive. That traffic analysis was in your Plan Commission packet. Basically, in a nutshell, what that traffic analysis said is that traffic on West Chapel Royal Drive is, has been planned. It's a larger road. It's 72 feet wide of right-of-way, and it's 40 feet of pavement face-to-face. And what the study said was looking at current development in the Scenic Ridge subdivision and looking at future development, including the apartment project before you tonight, and also the vacant lots that are in that development, that the roadway is sized appropriately to accommodate that type of development. One thing that the study did recommend was the painting of crosswalks at Acre and West Chapel Royal. So we did take the study back to the Public Works Committee and the Public Safety Committee on March 23rd. The Public Works Committee did direct staff to paint crosswalks at Acre and West Chapel Royal. So that'd be at the far eastern access, because Acre does do that loop around, so it'd be at the far eastern access point there. To paint those crosswalks there, would be 4 crosswalks crossing all 4 kind of legs of that road. And the Public Safety Committee also discussed the project as well, looking at more of the aspect of potential stop signs in that area. The traffic study did not recommend the stop signs, and neither did staff, including the police chief. So the Public Safety Committee discussed it and decided at this time not to take any action on that. Pretty much, in a nutshell, stop signs were not warranted based upon the traffic volumes in that area. It didn't meet the necessary warrants for that to be installed. It's something that we could look at in the future if and when that road is extended to the west, but at this time it wasn't appropriate. Pretty much that's the reason why this project is back before you tonight. It was referred by the council back to the Plan Commission to discuss again, look at the traffic. And the reason I guess the public hearing is back on the agenda, we had a public hearing in February. I know the mayor and in March, I know the mayor and I spoke before we noticed this project, or looking at public hearings for this project, and I think we both kind of decided this would be a smart thing just to have this on the agenda as a public hearing. It's not required, but it was one of those, I think there might be some comments tonight. We felt it would be important just to have that opportunity to have people speak on this project too. So that's why it's on there. Beyond the traffic study, nothing else has changed in the project. We just do have that completed traffic study. And I'm sure Mr. Gunlock would be happy to answer any questions on that study, and I'm happy to answer any questions as well too.
Thank you, Mr. Sayre. And we are in the public hearing stage, so if there's anyone from the public that wishes to speak this evening, if you would please come forward, and there should be a sign-up sheet there, but also if you would introduce yourself, not only for our benefit, but for those watching at home.
Hi, my name is Doug Cieslak. I live at 377 West Chapel Royal Drive. I was here last month, and my comments I have in written form so you can enter them into the record, but I'll be reading from them today. Thank you for the opportunity to talk before the Plan Commission tonight. Last time I was here, I had environmental and land use conflict concerns for the development at Lot 1. I spent a great deal of my time here at the city offices to familiarize myself with the public record on the bridge widening and the development at Lot 1, and my concerns have only grown since I've looked at the file. With my testimony tonight, I'm hopeful you will take action to postpone or deny the development at Lot 1 and insist on a safer bridge at crossing the highway there. The March meeting of the Plan Commission meeting is on YouTube, as you well know. At about the 35-minute mark, staff certifies that stormwater concerns are addressed to include infiltration. There's a document that's labeled GECP-Lot 1, illustrates stormwater is routed directly to the city-owned stormwater facilities adjacent to the site, contrary to what would otherwise, I thought, was a statement that they were taking care of their own infiltration. Routing stormwater directly to the city-owned facilities could be considered an extraordinary subsidy to the developer, not afforded to other developments. I'm not sure if that was part of the presentation that was made by anybody. It wasn't in anything that I've seen. Also, it's important to note that the condition for the final plat for the subdivision includes stormwater management plans to ensure adequate lands have been set aside for stormwater management. And that's repeated each time that the plat has been approved or reapproved. I've requested those designs on the developments at Lot 1 and not Lot 2, but as far as I can see by the record that was made available to me, that there hasn't been a study since the original study of the subdivision. So, routing Lot 1 and Lot 2's development into the storm ponds, at least from looking at the record, has not been done. So I would like you to please consider taking action to postpone or deny this development until this issue could be addressed. At about the 43-minute and a half mark, staff suggests that there's a 28-foot wide bridge that will serve 2 4-foot bike lanes and 2 11-foot traffic lanes, and we're missing a couple of feet on that math. But to me, that it just didn't seem safe. If the planners thought that we needed 40 feet wide on Chapel Royal, it would seem to follow that you would need even more on a busier lane like Locust. But that's not my area of expertise. But I am asking you to consider to take action to improve bikes and pedestrian safety on this bridge. Currently, the bridge on Locust Road does not support bicycle and pedestrian traffic. For almost 4 years, this bridge was the only egress and ingress from the subdivisions and a significant hazard to pedestrians and bicycle traffic. Pedestrian sidewalk is now proposed to be built on the east side only versus carrying the existing sidewalks that approach both sides of the bridge across the bridge. This configuration is contrary to the previous agreement that was developed in 2007. There's a bridge agreement between the developers and the city, and at that time some of the configurations involved both that you would carry the sidewalks across. So I'm very disappointed. Somewhere in between there was a new agreement drafted, and that agreement does speak of only one pedestrian lane on there. And so, but no record, no decision, no decision in here, no minutes, no conversation, no nothing, just simply there's the two agreements and then that's it. There's no conversation as to why somebody would do that. I'm very disappointed in the decision-making that would enable the developer profits to come before public safety. First, that the city allowed significant development in this area without a safe bridge, no designated lanes for bicycles and pedestrians. And second, that you'd wait as long as you did to take any action to improve that safety. And then when you do, to only put in this one lane. It doesn't seem to make sense, especially given we just had a referendum where we were going to put in a school down there. So it just doesn't, for elementary kids, no less. While I'm not an expert on traffic safety, one only needs to test drive or walk the designs to see that they are hazardous. While I understand that safety comes at a cost, those costs should have been planned for, implemented, and borne by the developers and or the city. City staff report the additional sidewalk will cost $800,000 in an email to me, which made my mind spin when the entire bridge right now or in '07 was about $800,000. So to add another pedestrian lane just seems to be high. Nonetheless, as it stands now, we're creating an unusual and uncontrolled crossing now at that bridge, on both ends of that bridge, for the kids that you're going to have going to that school. The 2007 bridge agreement included 2 sidewalks. The 2013, again, as I mentioned, did not. There's no record of the Plan Commission considering or authorizing this change, even though this was a condition as well in the plat that was given to the subdivision, was this bridge widening agreement had to be taken forward. Clearly, the city's management and enforcement of these agreements has seemed to benefit the developers. I haven't found, I asked for proof of payment and surety. There was no surety given in the 07 through 07 and through 2014. There's no surety in the file. There should have been bonds issued. That was part of the 07 agreement. And also in the 07 agreement, there are, they're supposed to be making annual payments. There's no proof of those payments were made either. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money that somebody else was sitting on. And I don't suspect it was the city. So I want to know how that benefited the city. You know, this is a serious matter involving public safety and the stewardship of significant financial resources for this project. Yet the only records that have been made available to me were the original and amended agreements. I'd like to believe we could do much better for our citizens. I'd like to know more about the individuals and decisions and rationales given for the bridge project. I'd like, because this again involves the plat, relates to the plat of the subdivision, which includes Lot 1, I would like to this body to consider taking action to postpone or deny this development until this issue can be addressed. In 2010, this Plan Commission approved a rezone of many of the lots on the West Chapel Royal Drive from mixed residential to neighborhood residential, because the claim of the developer was that he could not sell the lots in duplexes. And this is the first time in all of the record that I can find the hows and whys and the decision making that's gone on with the subdivision, so I appreciate that. However, there was no evidence or analysis given for the rezoning that was approved. He just simply said he couldn't sell them. I don't know what he was asking for them. I don't know if that bared the market, but nonetheless, it was permitted. And so the problem is that if you looked at the original plat, it has this apartment building, and then next with duplexes, and then next you would have it buffered with single family. When they converted it all to single family, now you go straight from apartment buildings to single family, and there was really no consideration given to buffer essentially the impacts of having multifamily apartment buildings next to single family homes. I'm hopeful that more could be done with the grade to block or buffer the impacts of the apartment on the single family homes. This impact causes an undue and adverse impact on my home and in the neighborhood, which this is a measure, the undue and adverse impact is a measure that you all have to use when considering the development. Again, that document GECP Lot 1 illustrates proposed grading and the location of proposed apartment facilities. The parking lot stormwater is directed to the municipal storm drain. The proposed development will shed waters off of the proposed building to the surrounding lands and onto the adjacent feedlot immediately adjacent to the proposed development to the west. This added runoff is unplanned and will likely result in water with the nearby water quality issues with the nearby tributary to the Sugar River. This development will likely result in compliance issues regarding ACCAP 51 regarding livestock sighting. If that farmer were to come into you all, or in this case he'd have to come into the county and ask to put a livestock facility next to this apartment building, under ACCAP 51 he'd have to stay 100 feet back from it. Under this development though, we're putting an apartment building within 15 feet of his property line. And if it's a good standard for the producer to stay 100 feet back from the property line, I'm guessing it's probably, one could argue, a good idea for the apartment to also stay back from the, to stay back. You know, I would hope that this body would see it to try to mitigate those conflicts of land use. Again, if it's a good standard for siting livestock facility next to a residence, then clearly the same should apply for siting an apartment. I'd like you to please consider taking action to postpone or deny this development until this issue can be addressed. Also, as a point of order, on December 5th, 05, this Plan Commission previously approved a lower density for this particular lot, and no action has been taken to rescind that action. So you're going to have two actions out there. One approves this, whatever development is being proposed today, and the other one that would have approved the action taken in 05. Tonight I've identified numerous instances where the city has taken actions to benefit this developer, some rather extraordinary financial benefit to them. And now I'm asking you, the members of this Plan Commission, to take actions to benefit me and the citizens of Verona. And with that, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for providing the written comments
Sure.
as well, Doug.
And would you like me to leave that anywhere?
You can give that up here and we'll take care of the distribution. Thank you. Are there other comments, other public comments on this agenda item? Other comments? I'm not seeing any. I would accept a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close it.
We have a motion by Mr. Linder. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Getz. All those in favor of closing the public hearing signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried, and we are now on agenda item 3A. If we were to take action, this would be a recommendation to the Common Council. There were a number of issues that Mr. Cieslik mentioned, and Mr. Burns, would you begin by addressing some of the issues relating to the amended agreement and how that came about, the changes to the original agreement?
Yes, the city had entered into an agreement with the developers of the Cathedral Point and Scenic Ridge subdivision in 2008. That was the original Locust Drive agreement that addressed several issues, including the reconstruction of the bridge, as well as reconstruction of Locust Drive south of the bridge, and other improvements within those developments. Couple of points I wanted to clarify. That original agreement from 2008 did not specify a design or pavement section for the bridge. There were some original estimates that were done in 2007 and 2008, but the agreement itself just identified that the bridge would be reconstructed without specifying what the cross-section would be at that time. The 2008 agreement did identify that the city would be constructing the bridge improvements, and upon completion and acceptance of the bridge improvements by the city, then the city would be invoicing the developers for their share. And under the terms of that agreement, Cathedral Point was to pay 62.8%, with 37.2% for Scenic Ridge, and there's also a recapture area that would allow, if there are other areas that come into the city that would be served by that, that payments could come in and reimburse the developers. But those payments from the developers would not start until after the bridge was completed and accepted. So there was a reference to payments not being invoiced or records of them being received, but the payments for the bridge reconstruction are not due until after the bridge work would be done. The agreement and the amended agreement also address the improvements to Locust Drive itself, south of the bridge south of the bridge location, and those improvements have been made directly by the developers, paying for the improvements to reconstruct Locust Drive. So in that situation, that was not a city project, but a project that the city required the developers to install to city standards. There was also reference to surety, and under the terms of the original and the amended agreement, the city has the ability to require the developers to provide surety in order to ensure that the work is completed. The city has received surety from the developers in conjunction with the different phases of development, starting with the initial phases all the way through the current phases in those development. Those generally have been in the form of letter of credit. And we currently have letters of credit that are still in force for Phase 6 in Scenic Ridge, Phase 4 in Cathedral Point. And as part of the development agreement for the latest phases of those, now that we have more specific information on the bridge cost, the development agreement specifically references the estimated cost of the bridge attributable to each development, and that the city may maintain the letter of credit in at least that amount until after the bridge work is completed and the city has received payment. There was a reference to the amended agreement. So the original agreement was approved by the council in 2008. There was an amended agreement that was approved by the city council in 2013. That was recommended by the Public Works Committee and approved by the city council. And that agreement did a couple of things. One, it did define the cross-section for the bridge and identified what the pavement width would be, and it did identify that there would be a combined pedestrian and bike path on one side of the bridge. We also had updated cost information, so at that point we had updated cost information to include in the development agreements. The other thing that agreement, the amended agreement addressed was the timing for the Locust Drive reconstruction. And I recall that part of the discussion at the Public Works Committee was that we had a situation as Scenic Ridge in particular was developing faster than Cathedral Point with the amount of houses out there and the amount of traffic, that we wanted to get the improvements to Locust Drive done as quickly as possible. And we also wanted to work with the developers to try to get an east-west connection to provide another alternative entrance into the neighborhoods for when the bridge work would be done. And so as part of that amended agreement, the timeline was identified for reconstructing Locust Drive, that the segment 1, or the northern segment, would be constructed in 2013. The southern segment would be constructed in 2014. It also identified timelines for West Whispering Pine to be connected to Locust, providing that additional access point, and then identifying the timeline for when the bridge would be completed. And we are currently in the situation where Locust Drive has been reconstructed, the connection to Whispering Pines has been made, and the city is in the process of designing the bridge improvements, which are planned to be installed later this year. At that time, the city would begin invoicing the developers for the cost for that bridge improvement.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. Any questions for Mr. Burns at this point? If not, Mr. Gunlock, do you want to respond to some of the traffic and the stormwater issues that were brought up, please?
Yeah, let me just say first that the bridge has been designed. It is in the bidding process. Bids will be taken on April 21st. So at that time, we will know what the cost, the actual cost of the construction will be. As far as stormwater, Scenic Ridge subdivision has 2 stormwater basins. one on the south and one on the north. All stormwater that drains to public storm sewer goes to those basins. The Scenic Ridge Lot 1 and Scenic Ridge Lot 2, majority of their water does not enter the storm sewer system but is directed directly to those stormwater ponds. Those ponds were designed for both of those lots. Their stormwater management plans were reviewed. When those ponds were designed, there was a runoff number that was applied to both Lot 1 and Lot 2, and I believe it was a CN number of around 85. Both lots have, as they are designed currently, have a CN number that's less than that, and so they are actually contributing less water to those stormwater ponds than what it was originally designed for. The developers have every right, because those are regional ponds, to discharge their water to those ponds for treatment. The bridge, the last time we were here, I misspoke. The bridge is actually 30 feet clear, 15 foot on each side of the center line. According to the facilities, Wisconsin Department of Transportation Facilities Development Manual, which basically addresses design of highways and bridges, or highways in the state. A 30-foot clear width on a bridge where the street is posted at 25 miles an hour is acceptable. The 8-foot pedestrian bike path, pedestrian path on the east side, the bridge is a DOT's bridge. They reviewed that additional bike pedestrian path, 8 foot wide, in accordance with Trans 75, which addresses bike and pedestrian accommodations on highways, and they approved that 8-foot width. They also indicated that in widening the bridge, we needed to put a chain link fence on both the east and west side of those parapet walls. I guess I think that's all I've got.
Are there any questions for Mr. Gunlock? Mr. Getz, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I apologize, it was Mr. Cisick? Cisick. Talked about previous bridge design having bike or sidewalk on each side of the bridge, and the recent configuration is the single bike pedestrian path on the east side. Can you speak to that a little bit and help me understand that?
Mr. Gunlock?
Well, I think at the time, and it's been a while, it's probably 2007 or 2006 when we first started looking at the subdivision. There were some estimates done for what it would cost to widen the bridge, and I believe at that time there were two estimates. One had an estimate for just a sidewalk on one side, and one had an estimate for a sidewalk on both sides. Those estimates are 8 years old. In ensuing time, prices have gone up substantially. So today, we're estimating that on the 21st, when we take this proposal, these bids for this bridge, it's going to be somewhere between $650,000 and $700,000 to expand the bridge 8 feet wide on the one side. We also did some rough cost estimates, and if we were to go in and widen the other side 8 feet wide, we would have an additional roughly $525,000. And the difference in that is that because we are widening it, the DOT is requiring us to maintain 2 traffic lanes in each direction on 18151. So there's roadway widening costs in there that we would not have if we just put the sidewalk on the other side also.
Thank you.
Mr. Getz? Any other questions? Mr. Linder, please.
The last note I had was, he talked about the density in 2005 compared to the agreement in 2008. Is there a difference in that?
Mr. Sarah?
You know, I'd have to go back and look at the file, to be honest with you. I know there was discussion in the file at one point about what type of development would be on lots 1 and 2. You know, I don't know exactly what action was taken on that. I don't know if it was part of the zoning process or not. If it was something that was conditionally rezoned by the planning commission or council, that's something that you can't enforce, a conditional rezoning. It's not legal. When you're restricting the number of units per se, it's not allowed by law. But there was discussion in the past about what type of development would happen out here.
Go ahead, Mr. Linder.
Follow up to that, could it have been that there was a total density between the 2 lots? Was it the same as it is now, or do we not know that for sure?
Mr. Sarah?
I don't know. I know he's holding up a piece of paper, but I don't know exactly. I wasn't prepared for that question tonight.
Go ahead, Mr. Getz.
A follow-up on Mr. Linder's questions. Mr. Sleeslack, I believe, was talking about, when he was talking about the density there too, also mentioned that buffer zone of what previously might have been mixed residential versus neighborhood residential, and if that was going to be, I guess, south of where scenic, or where lots 1 and 2 are, where there are currently the single-family homes. Can
Mr. Sarah, please.
I believe some of those lots at one point were zoned mixed residential. The one thing I want to point out about that zoning district is that it is traditionally a duplex zoning district, but there are lots elsewhere in Scenic Ridge right now today that are zoned mixed residential with single-family houses on it. So there were lots in 2010 in this area that, I don't have the exact area in front of me, but there were lots in this area that were mixed residential, and I would suspect the reason for that rezoning was the duplex market in 2010 was incredibly difficult, and it still is. That's probably the reason why you're seeing single-family lots being built out here on mixed residential lots, and to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if you saw more of that happen out here. But there was, at one point, there was more mixed residential kind of in this area.
Other questions or comments? Go ahead, Mr. Getz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Question that I have, again, comment Mr. Cieslak made, just so I'm clear on what, if any, concern or problem it presents or doesn't present. The 100-foot setback he was mentioning with livestock with the adjoining property versus the 15-foot setback with the apartment or other residential buildings?
Go ahead, Mr. Sarah.
Well, first of all, the apartment building is 40 feet off that west property line. The minimum setback is 15. This building will be 40 feet off that property line. I believe from where that feedlot is today to the edge of the apartment building, it's actually over 100 feet. So if you drew a line where the existing feedlot is today, it'd be over that 100 feet. That's a requirement that is applicable to the feedlots, but it would not apply to us as a city. I mean, this is an issue you're going to face on the edge of the city in many locations. You're going to have these land use conflicts with ag uses and farm uses. I mean, it's not uncommon.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Manley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Would one of you, whether it's Bob or someone else, address the comments about the overall safety of the bridge, as well the adequacy of the paved cross-section, given that there was a referendum that passed yesterday and we could have a elementary school built in the vicinity?
Mr. Gunlock, please.
If you look at the development north of the bridge, on the west side, it's all industrial. There are no apartments in that area. If you look on the east side of just north of the bridge in the Prairie Crest neighborhood, it's almost virtually all multifamily. There may be some children in there. But if they are crossing that bridge, they are crossing on the east side. It is an 8-foot wide clear sidewalk from the edge of the curb area. You have additional 4 feet from there to the travel lane. It's no different than in downtown Verona, where you have a sidewalk 6 feet off of the, or not even that, 4 feet, 3.5 feet off of the curb, and then have a 7-foot parking area. I mean, we have a clear zone there for this sidewalk. To put a 8-foot wide sidewalk 4 feet off of the travel lane is acceptable. It was approved, that configuration was approved by the pedestrian bike coordinator for the DOT. If it wasn't safe, they would have said it wasn't. They would have told us it's not safe, you gotta make it wider. And they approved it. They said, no, this is an acceptable width for that sidewalk. Bicyclists that go across there on that path should walk their bikes across the bridge, just as a common courtesy to pedestrians that are going to be, that could be on the bridge. The school to the south, I don't think there are going to be a lot of children walking from the north side of that bridge to the south side to go to that school. That school is going to serve, the majority of the people that it serves are going to be in Scenic Ridge and Cathedral Point. And if they're farther north in the up along Whalen Road and that, they're more than 1.5 miles from the school, and they're going to be bused. So I don't see an issue with it.
I would say in addition to that, Mr. Gunlock, is there's also the entrance from Range Trail that would be near the school, and some people would be taking that route as well. Other questions, comments? Potential motions? Mr. Linder?
I guess I just got one more question. I'm just not sure how to say it, but are there any, I mean, it seems like developer in the past, we talked about developers met the city's requirements on everything, and is that a true statement?
Yes, as far as I'm aware, yes.
Additional questions, comments, potential action? Mr. Getz?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to recommend that the Common Council approve the conditional use permit for an apartment land use on Lot 1 of the Scenic Ridge subdivision to allow for the construction of 45 apartment units.
We have a motion by Mr. Getz. Is there a second? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Linder. We have a motion and a second. Are there additional questions or comments? Additional questions or comments? Mr. Linder?
I'll make one quick comment. I voted against this first time. I wanted to see if there's anything we could do. I know crosswalks is basically all we got at this point, but I feel like they're meeting the city's obligations on every requirement we have. I feel like it should move forward.
Thank you. Other comments, questions? Seeing none, I'm sorry, Mr. Manley?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know I've said this a lot before, both serving on this body and serving on the city council, and I think this project bears mention again that I think we as a city need to be really cognizant about how we plan for large format, large scale, multifamily housing development within a residential development, because it does create conflicts It does create discord, and I think on a going forward basis, we just have to be very careful about how we do it and where we locate it, and if we are going to include large-scale multifamily housing in a subdivision that is predominantly single-family, where we locate that is really important. I think this issue shows it. I really am not comfortable with what's before us, but I don't feel, I mean, if I'm looking at the standard of review and whether or not as a matter of law this should be approved, I think we probably have an obligation to do that. But I just really don't like having this come before us this way and having these kinds of conflicts.
Thank you, Mr. Manley. I concur with your comments, and I think it's important. You know, you said it's important that we make the statement, and I think it's also important that the public know that we continue to receive a lot of pressure to do more and more multifamily because that's what's selling. And my personal opinion is that just because that's what's selling, that doesn't mean that's what we have to do for the city of Verona. So I completely concur with your comments, and I think that the city does need to take a second look at what we're doing with multifamily. Other questions, comments? Not seeing any. The motion before us is to recommend approval to the Common Council. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no. And that motion carries. Next, I would accept a motion to open a public hearing for a conditional use permit to allow a group development land use to be located at 324 South Main Street. The proposed conditional use permit will allow for the construction of a 780 square foot detached garage. Do I have a motion to go into public hearing?
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Getz. Is there a second? I'll second. Seconded by Mr. Heinzen. All those in favor of going into public hearing stage signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. We are in the public hearing. Mr. Sarah, if you would provide the background, please.
This is a conditional use permit to allow a group development land use at 324 South Main. A group development land use is any type of use that has multiple buildings or structures on the parcel. So at 324 South Main, we actually have a single family home that is zoned central commercial. It's kind of pre-zoned, I guess, for future redevelopment potentially. The applicant's here tonight requesting to have this group development land use so that he can construct a detached garage on his property. This is the process for, I guess, for him to be able to do that since the property is zoned that central commercial district. This is a recommendation tonight to the Common Council. I know the applicant is here tonight. I'm sure he'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Mr. Sayre. So we are in the public hearing stage. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak on this agenda item? Is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak? Anyone from the public that wishes to speak? Not seeing any, I would accept the motion to close the public hearing. We have a motion by Mr. Linder. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Getz. All those in favor of closing the public hearing signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. So we are now on agenda item 5A. If we were to take action on A, it would be a recommendation to the Common Council. Agenda item 5B would be action solely by the Planning Commission. Mr. Sayre, is there anything that you would like to add at this point?
Sure. I guess the request, as I said, is for the construct a new garage. It'd be set back approximately at least 3 feet from the lot lines. That is what's required by the zoning ordinance. The building itself will be located in the rear of the kind of property back towards this way, kind of as you come in the property. There's a long driveway. It'd be pretty much just at the end of that driveway there, just to the right of the existing structures on there. The building itself would match the existing buildings on the property. Staff has no concerns with this request. It kind of fits with what the applicant has done there. Kind of fits with the historic character of the building and the existing look of the existing garages itself. So staff recommends the Planning Commission Recommend the Common Council approve the group development land use to allow for the construction of a 780 square foot detached garage at 324 South Main. And we also recommend the Plan Commission approve the site plan to allow for the construction of the 780 square foot detached garage at 324 South Main.
Thank you, Mr. Sayre. Questions or comments? Mr. Getz, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm assuming by the drawing and the photograph, looking up the driveway, that the existing shed is going to be replaced by the garage?
Tom, if you would come up, please. So, thank you.
My name is Tom Griffith. I own the property at 324 South Main. Currently, my property is shaped like a pie. In the very corner of the pie, there's a little barn. That barn will either be removed altogether. It probably will be removed altogether. It's not serving a purpose anyway, and it's pretty old. The garage that I'm proposing is, from the street, you would barely see it. It's going to be, my garage now is this way. It'll look an L. I can tell you that this is not going to be some cheap, big garage. This is a $60,000 two-story, 2.5-car garage with everything. So this will, if anything, it will enhance the property. The siding will match the house and the existing garage. The house and the existing garages both have brand new roofs on them that match. This new garage would be the next build. Everything would match. It would, to be honest, this will be a very, very aesthetically pleasing garage. It'll be a showcase. Yep.
Any additional questions for the applicant? Not seeing any. Thank you, Mr. Griffith. Any other questions or comments from Plan Commission members? Mr. Linder?
Can I move approval as presented by Mr. Sayre? Would that be
You sure
acceptable?
can. Recommend approval.
Yep. To
We
the
have-
Common Council.
We have a motion by Mr. Linder. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Getz. We now have a motion and a second. Are there any additional questions or comments on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Next, we have agenda item 5B, which would be again solely Plan Commission action. Questions or comments from Plan Commission members or potential motions? Potential motions?
I'll make a
Mr.
motion
Getz?
to approve the site plan.
We have a motion by Mr. Getz to approve the site plan. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Heinzen. Questions or comments on the site plan review? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Mr. Griffith, the first action that we took, 5A, that will be on the Common Council agenda for next week, Monday. Thank you. Next, we have agenda item number 6, which if we were to take action, would be recommended action to the Common Council. And this is discussion and possible action regarding a petition by Epic Systems Corporation to annex approximately 50.31 acres of land into the city of Verona. The proposed annexation is located in the southwest quarter of the northeast quarter and the northwest quarter of the southeast quarter of Section 8. In Township 6 North, Range 8 East, which is the town of Verona, and the northeast quarter of the southeast quarter of Section 8, Township 6 North, Range 8 East, again, town of Verona. Specifically, the parcels are identified as parcels number 02/068/0848300/0, also 062/0608-01/9000/7, and finally 062/0608-084-8501 or 8500-1. Do we have, Mr. Sayre, if you would provide the background, please.
Thank you. So the three parcels that Epic is looking to annex are on the screen in yellow here. There's a large kind of closer to 40-acre parcel in this area. There's a longer rectangle strip here that's just south of that kind of 40. And then we also have a 10-acre chunk in here as well. Epic is looking to annex that for their long-term use as part of their campus. Most likely short-term it'll be used for construction, staging, and equipment and et cetera for what they've been doing out there for construction over the past years. There are no people living on these parcels, so it's a unanimous consent petition. They're requesting as part of the annexation to zone the parcel RA, or AG, which is basically our AG zoning. We use that as a holding zone until the property is ready for development. That's consistent with most annexations that we've done in the city. In our long-term planning for this, the North Neighborhood Plan does identify this land as an office use of some type, so Epic purchasing this and annexing it to the city is consistent with it. The property is not located within the urban service area at this time. If they do want to have services to this parcel, they would request a USA amendment. State statute requires that the Department of Administration needs to review this. It has been submitted to DOA, and prior to the council acting on this, we require a letter from the Department of Administration just basically signing off on it. So we're still waiting for that letter. If you decide to move this forward tonight, we would wait until we receive that letter before the council would actually act on it. With that, staff recommends the Plan Commission recommend to the Common Council approval of the request to annex 50.31 acres to the city of Verona as shown on the exhibits in your packets.
Thank you, Mr. Sarah, for the background. Questions, comments, potential motions? Questions, comments? Mr. Manley?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will recommend approval of the annexation.
We have a motion by Mr. Manley. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Getz. Questions or comments on the motion? Questions or comments? If not, as Mr. Sayer indicated, that this would not be on the council agenda unless we would hear from DOA regarding that letter. Mr. Linder?
Just one question, is there any structures on it, like wells or buildings or anything on any of these lands?
I don't believe so. I think most of it was used for farming purposes. I think a good chunk of it is also floodplain, I believe, as well too. So no, we're not dealing with anything.
For the benefit of those watching at home, the representatives of the applicants were shaking their head no, that there were no buildings on that property. Other questions or comments? Mr. Heinzen?
Sure, just out of curiosity, does Epic own other property that hasn't been annexed into the city yet, in addition to these? Which is, I guess, contiguous to the property that they have right now?
Mr. Sayre?
No, I don't believe it's contiguous to the property. They own other properties that are not in the city and are actually in the town, but I believe everything they own is, everything around this one is, if it's not in the city, it's not owned by Epic and it's in the town. So this would be the first parcel in the city that we would butt up to County Highway PD. But I believe the parcels to the east and the west and the north and east of this as well too are owned by different property owners.
Other questions or comments? If not, the motion before you is to recommend approval of the annexation. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. And that motion carries. So more action to come by the council at the appropriate time. Thank you. Next, we're on agenda item number 7, which would be, if we were to take action, would it be solely on the Plan Commission? And this is discussion and possible action regarding a site plan review to allow for the construction of a 50,000 square foot biopharmaceutical manufacturing facility to be located at the northeast corner of Thousand Oaks Trail and Kettle Moraine Trail. Mr. Sayre, if you would provide the background, please.
Thank you. United Vaccine is requesting site plan approval and a certified survey map that would allow for the construction of a 57,000 square foot biopharmaceutical manufacturing facility. The proposed facility would have approximately 18,700 feet of office space, 25,000 feet of production space, and also 13,000 square feet of warehousing space. There's also potential expansion area on the site plan to the east as well, of an area they could possibly expand into the future. Part of this project, they're also proposing a CSM that would create 3 lots, and I'll get to that in a minute. From a bulk standpoint, the building does meet all the required setbacks. Parking and access, there is sufficient parking on the site. They're proposing 97 parking spaces. They currently have 52 employees as part of this project. They might be adding up to 23 employees as well for a total of 75. So the parking is sufficient for the current employee count and the future employee count. Staff has no concerns with it. They do provide a potential parking lot expansion area to the north as well. So if parking for some reason became an issue, they do have space to expand into. Access to the site would be from Thousand Oaks Trail, mostly for employees would be off the Thousand Oaks Trail here. They also have a secondary access point for the parking lot in the front from Kettle Marine Trail, and they will have semi and truck delivery in the rear off of Kettle Marine Trail. Drainage and stormwater plans have been submitted to the city engineer for review. Staff has no concerns with those at this time. There was a landscaping plan submitted as well. The proposed landscaping plan meets the minimum point requirements, and staff has no concerns with that. The building itself is very similar to the building that the Plan Commission saw in March. It will contain high quality materials. It will contain brick, a significant amount of windows, and also obviously in the back there'll be panels for the warehousing and manufacturing space. The design is consistent with what's in the current industrial or current business park. Staff has no concerns with it. I think it's going to blend in nicely. It'll be a nice fit for the community, a nice fit for the area. So I have no concerns with it. I think it's a nice looking building. The CSM they're proposing to create would create those 3 lots. Lot 1 would be the future home of United Vaccines. It would be approximately 6 acres in size. Lot 2, located here, would be approximately 1.7 acres in size, and Lot 3 would be 2.2 acres. Access for Lot 2 would be from Thousand Oaks Trail. Access to Lot 3 would be from Kettle Moraine Trail via this 50-foot, we'll call it flag. It is a flag lot. Staff looked at that. We don't have any concerns with that because it is an industrial park. Most likely this would just be a drive going in. I know the developer, the owner of the lots right now, was having a challenging time trying to lay these out. I think we talked about this at the last Plan Commission meeting, due to the fact of the width of the lot and the length of it. But staff has no concerns with how this has been laid out, and we're supportive of it. So with that, staff recommends the Plan Commission approve the site plan to allow for the construction of a 57,000 square foot biopharmaceutical manufacturing facility to be located at the northeast corner of Thousand Oaks Trail and Kettle Marine Trail. And second, staff recommends that the Plan Commission recommend to the Common Council approval of a certified survey map to create 3 lots located at the northeast corner of Thousand Oaks Trail and Kettle Marine Trail. And I know the applicants are here tonight, and they'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Mr. Sayre. And in Mr. Sayre providing the background, he actually covered agenda items number 7 and 8. Number 7 would be Plan Commission action. Agenda item number 8 would be a recommendation to the Common Council. Questions, comments, potential action? Mr. Manley?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think it was at our meeting last month that I had mentioned that I thought I echo Adam's comments. I think it's a good looking building, and excited to have this development in Verona. So I'd like to make the motion to approve the site plan.
We have a motion by Mr. Manley. This is on agenda item number 7. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Linder. Questions or comments?
I have a question, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Getz, please.
Is it possible, do we have a map of the full industrial site out there that we can see what is exactly just north of the proposed 3 lots there?
Mr. Sayre, are you able to pull that up?
If you give me 1 second, I can pull
Sure.
that up. I guess I can just say the swap shop is located just immediately north of there.
Okay, Mr. Linder's got a picture here for me.
Yeah.
So there's no potential access from the north to what will be potentially become lot 2 or 3.
Mr. Sayre?
No, unless there was a shared driveway access. I mean, there's always potential if there was an agreement with UW swap shop, UW to kind of have that shared access in there, but most likely would come off the road itself. I don't see it I'd be surprised if it came from the north.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments on agenda item number 7? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. We are on agenda item number 8, again, which would be a recommendation to the Common Council. Questions, comments, potential motions? Mr. Manley?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Adam, with the effort to divide this into 3 parcels, and including one of them being a flag lot, was there any thought given to just dividing it into 2 parcels, where the parcel on the north, or the northernmost parcel would, clearly have access from Thousand Oaks Trail, and you wouldn't need to have a flag lot come in from the south? I mean, does the developer feel like it's got to be 2 lots instead of 1?
Mr. Sayre?
Well, I guess I'll defer to the applicant. I guess to kind of touch upon it initially, though, I think at the last meeting, I think it was 2 lots. You had the 1 lot for United Vaccine, then you had the second lot that was kind of the longer one. There still was that kind of, call it a flag, I guess, going to Kettle Moraine. I think part of that was due to the challenges with those lots of just how long they were running versus how wide they were. But I'll defer to the applicant if you want to kind of answer the on behalf of the developer of the thoughts behind that.
And if you would, please identify yourself.
Good evening. Bruce Holler with D'Onofrio Katkin Associates, here representing the developer. What Adam had spoken to, it provides a little bit more flexibility from a marketing standpoint to have those 2 lots the way they are versus a long, narrow one in a setting like this. If need be, the buyer can purchase both lots and then just call it 1 lot, around the boundary. But the idea was to give the developer a little bit more flexibility from a marketing standpoint.
Any follow-up questions?
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Mr. Getz.
Just to follow up on that, so in the future, if there were to be one buyer for both lots who wanted to then do one use of both lots, that could come back and be recombined back to a single lot.
Yes.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments? If not, potential action? Mr. Manley?
I'll move to recommend approval of the certified survey map.
We have a motion by Mr. Manley. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Getz. Questions or comments on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion carries. That will also be on the council agenda for next week, Monday. Thank you. We are on agenda item number 9, which would be Plan Commission action. And this is discussion and action regarding a site plan review to allow for the construction of a 12,988 square foot office building to be located at the southwest corner of Solar Court and County Highway M. Mr. Sayre, if you'd provide the background, please.
Thank you. The employer group is looking to construct approximately 13,000 square foot office building on Solar Court. Currently, the employer group is located on Prairie Heights Drive. This project would actually, they'd be building a new office building for themselves and moving out of their existing building on Prairie Heights Drive. Tentatively looking to start construction here in 2015. From a bulk standpoint, the building does meet all the required setbacks from County Highway M, Solar Court, and the adjacent property lines. The applicant is proposing 37 parking spaces as a part of this project. The zoning ordinance requires 1 parking space for 300 square feet of office space. So that by code, 37 spaces are required. Staff has no concerns with the parking. Access to the site would be from Solar Court here. Solar Court's a cul-de-sac. Staff has no concerns with access because it is a cul-de-sac and it's a low volume street. Architecturally, the building will have a significant amount of glass, windows especially. Also have stone veneer. This is the same building that the Plan Commission looked at the March meeting as well. Nothing's changed on it. The metal accents will be along the top. We'll also have metal here in the front too. And once again, it'll provide a nice presence on that corner as you come down County Highway M. I think it's a nice looking building. Staff has no concerns with it and is fully supportive of it. So with that, staff recommends the Plan Commission approve the site plan to allow for the construction of a 12,988 square foot office building at the southwest corner of Solar Court and County Highway M. I know the architect is here tonight and would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Sayre. Questions, comments, or potential action from the Plan Commission? Again, we've seen this before, so it's not new to us. Mr. Getz, please.
Just one comment to confirm. I believe I recall from our last conversation about the project and with the picture that you have up right now, the lack of windows on this particular face was directly a result of there being restroom or other mechanical components behind that particular wall, correct?
That is what I remember.
Good evening. Brad Koenig with Schulfer Architects. That is correct. We are looking at some internal restructuring, so we might be able to get a few windows on that south side per earlier comments. But at this point, yes, right now there's mechanical and restrooms at that point.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? Mr. Linder?
The stormwater is located in the front?
Mr. Gunlock is nodding yes.
Okay, I couldn't tell for sure on one of these, so. Another comment, I mean, I know I said it's a phenomenal looking building. I guess I do have a question for you. What made you decide to go that far out of the general city? I mean, it's in the city, but why'd you end up picking that location? I mean, it's a good looking building. I almost wish it was closer to downtown, I guess, is what I'm getting at.
I would agree. They own that property. They own the storage warehouses that are directly behind that on Solar Court, and it's about a stone's throw from where they're at now. So I'm not sure why they originally bought that lot, but that's what they have.
Thank you. Mr. Manley?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to echo the comments on the aesthetics of the building. I think it's great looking, and I think it would be a nice example for people who want to come to Verona, businesses who want to come to Verona and develop an office building. This is kind of what we're looking for.
Thank you, Mr. Manley. I'll just add, I drive past the current building almost every day when I leave Verona and come back, and I'll look forward to driving past the new building. Seeing no other questions or comments, we do not have a motion before us at this point. Mr. Linder?
I'll make a motion to approve the site plan to allow for construction of a 12,988 square foot office building at the southwest corner of Solar Court and County Highway M.
We have a motion by Mr. Linder. Is there a second?
I will second.
Seconded by Mr. Heinzen. Questions or comments on the motion? Not seeing any, so I'll call the question. All those in favor of approval of the site plan signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. And that motion carries. Thank you. We are on agenda item number 10, which also would be Plan Commission action. This is a site plan review to allow for the construction of a 17,447 square foot commercial building to be located on Lot 11 of Liberty Business Park, located at the northwest corner of County Highway M and Liberty Drive. Mr. Sayre, if you'd provide the background, please.
Thank you. So the request tonight is to construct this 17,000 square foot commercial building. It is located at the corner, as the mayor described, in this area. Just for past references, and this is Liberty Park. So far, we've approved in Liberty Park a flex building, which is located here. That is completed, and they're now occupying with tenants. The second flex building is mostly completed, and that will be filling up here shortly. And then the first fixed-use building, which is on the opposite corner, I believe they're in the process of getting permits for that, and construction will be starting here shortly on that. So things are moving forward out there. There was an initial review of the project before you tonight in January at the January 2015 Plan Commission meeting. For the most part, not too much has changed from that. From a bulk standpoint, the building does meet all the required setbacks. It's consistent with the other building that's located to the east. You have some parking on the front, and then you also have some parking on the east as well, in the north and west. Parking on the site, there are 78 parking spaces for the project. Similar to the other building, parking is mostly reviewed on a case-by-case basis as those tenants come in. So generally, as a rule of thumb, there is one space required per 300 square feet of floor area. That's for retail uses and office uses. So the first floor of this building will be mostly that retail and more your commercial type uses. The second floor will probably be those office type uses. At a minimum right now, 59 parking spaces are required, so it does meet the minimum parking requirements. But as future uses come forward with a conditional use, such as restaurants or commercial entertainment land uses, the Plan Commission and staff will review those on a case-by-case basis. If additional parking is needed, there is additional land located north of the site and also west of the site on the same lot. So staff has no concerns with parking at this time. They have provided also a future parking lot expansion area here, which would potentially add 14 parking spaces if it were needed. Access to the site is planned from both Fortune Drive from the north. This would be a long drive coming to the north here, and also from Liberty Drive as well. Fortune Drive would provide people with the full access to make a left-hand turn onto Liberty Drive. Access to Liberty Drive would be restricted to a right-in, right-out. We did talk about the access to Liberty Drive at the January Plan Commission meeting. Access right now to there is restricted. It's not allowed by the plat. So there was a plat restriction in place on that. Staff has no concerns allowing access in the location that they're showing on the site plan. For the most part, it lines up with the access across the street as well. We have talked to Dane County as well too. Dane County has no concerns with it. Dane County said if the city approves the release and allow access in this area, they're fine with that. They'll go along with whatever city action that we take on this. Staff has no concerns with it. The reality is that if for some reason traffic is backing up on Liberty Drive, so for some reason there's a traffic backup and traffic is stacking there, people won't be able to make that right out. There is a secondary access to get out of this property. People will learn to go north if there's a lot of traffic. This is pretty consistent with other industrial parks that you find in Madison. During those peak hours, especially in the evening, there are times you can't get out of some places because there's a lot of traffic. For this development, there is that secondary kind of release to go north and find a different way out. So staff has no concerns with releasing that plat restriction. That is something that would have to go to the council for approval. The council would have to adopt that by resolution. So if the Plan Commission approves this project tonight, that should be a condition of approval, that access shouldn't be granted until the council releases that plat restriction. Stormwater management plans have been submitted to the city engineer for review. On-site bioretention is being provided as well. At this time, staff has no concerns with the stormwater plans. Landscaping plans were submitted as well. It does meet the minimum point requirement, and staff has no concerns with that. Architecturally, the building is very consistent to what you saw in January, and it's also almost a mirror image of the building that's on the opposite side of the road. So these two buildings, with the one that was approved last year and this building, will basically bookend the entrance to the park, provide this kind of Italian type theme to it. It'll have a strong focal point with the glass and then the stone veneer and the brick materials as well. It blends with what's out there. Staff has no concerns with it. So that staff recommends the Plan Commission approve the site plan to allow for the construction of a 17,447 square foot commercial building to be located at the northwest corner of Liberty Drive and County Highway M, with the following condition: that access to Liberty Drive shall not be permitted until the Common Council releases the access restriction from the Liberty Business Park plat.
Thank you, Mr. Sayre. We do have a representative of the applicant here. Are there any questions or comments? Mr. Heinzen?
Sure. I'm not sure who to direct this to, but with respect to the drive that goes to Fortune Drive, is that a sidewalk that runs parallel to it? I guess is one question. And then what would we anticipate if the two, I guess the two parcels or the two portions that are on either side of Fortune Drive get developed in the future? Does that stay along driveway?
Good. Mr. Sayre?
So your first question, yes, that is a sidewalk. That was something that I know I kind of pushed the developer on,
Okay.
trying to get that connection to the hotel. So that was put on the west side. And the location of that drive, the intent was to line it up with the hotel access point, but also to create, let me pull this up, to try to avoid in the future an effort to relocate that. They're trying to create enough space here that you could put another building there and hopefully not have to disturb that access point. I think as site plans go forward for the lands kind of, especially north of here as well, on both sides of that drive, I think we can, as a plan commission, as the applicant does too, take a look at that. I mean, I think there needs to be a direct connection there. I mean, I think the last thing we want to do is make that into a weaving type situation. But I think the intent of the applicant is to try to keep that open as much as they can. Obviously, their tenants in this building are going to want that. I don't want to speak out of turn what's going to happen to the west. I think that's still kind of unknown. I would suspect the intention of the applicant is to try to tie these parking lots all together long term. I think it would make a lot of sense. It's all under one ownership. Knowing the developer, I would suspect that's probably his intention to do that as well too. So I'm not sure if that answers your second question. But
No, it does. I appreciate that. Thanks.
Other questions? Mr. Linder?
Thank you. Kind of related to that, the distance for that driveway we're just talking about off of Liberty Drive, I know some of the other, like Hometown Circle, we tried not to stay too close to the main intersection. Is that, so maybe this goes to Mr. Gunlock, is that far enough off of Liberty Drive so that we don't get stacking into the main road?
Mr. Gunlock?
Well, at the present time it is. As the whole site develops, there may be some stacking that occurs in the future. But like Mr. Sayre said, in most industrial parks and office parks, you do have some driveways where you have difficulty with egress and egress at certain times of the day. And this is one of those spots where that could happen in the future. But for right now, with the development that's in here, there should be no problem. There's a long left turn bay there. We're just at the start of the taper for that left turn bay. There are 2 lanes here, 2 other dedicated lanes. We should not have a problem at this time. In the future, as more development occurs, more commercial development, if we get a lot of commercial development on the weekends, yeah, there could be a problem. Saturday and Sunday if there's a lot of shoppers out here or something. So, but for office, for right now, no, I don't see an issue.
Can I
Go
follow
ahead,
up on
Mr.
that?
Linder.
Yeah, because I'm looking at, there's some blank lots to the left that could be funneling stuff. There's those 2 lots either side of that driveway. I mean, so let's say that does get starting to stack up. Are we going to have to move that driveway?
No.
Never?
They still got, no, they don't have to move that driveway. You've still got an access out to the north.
Even if they're stacking in a Liberty Drive, we don't have to move it.
If when you mean stacking, I'm assuming that you mean traffic is coming from the north and stacking at a future signal at County Trunk Highway M and.
No, I'm talking about turning left from Liberty Drive onto Fortune Drive, trying to turn left into this development. Stacking from Fortune Drive, the driveway on Fortune Drive to Liberty Drive.
There's a good 300 feet of turn lane there. And I don't see the traffic being so heavy coming into here for this one building and even for the hotel that you're going to stack up into the through lanes on the northbound lanes on Liberty Drive.
I guess I just looking long term. I understand right now there probably is enough, but
Well,
there's a lot more.
there was an original traffic impact analysis done for this whole area, and that original traffic impact analysis assumed that to the west of this was going to be a big shopping area, large box. Well, as we see it right now, it's not developing that way. It's developing as office uses, restaurants. There isn't going to be a problem with that left turn bay there.
Do we know how far that is from that driveway to Liberty? Does anybody know?
Mr. Gunlock?
Okay, you're talking, now you're talking from Fortune Drive back here? From the driveway on Fortune Drive back to,
To Liberty,
Yeah,
is my understanding.
Yeah, on the screen right now, Bob, he's talking from right here, I assume?
Yes.
Alderperson
Yeah.
Linder to the east?
To Liberty.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Basically going this way
it
on Liberty.
is, where's the scale on this? 60 feet.
The reason I ask is because I know that like in Hometown Circle, and there was talk about having another access close to, near the Taco Bell, that we wanted to stay away from the main road. So we didn't
Approximately
have any
200
stacking there.
feet.
200 feet. Oh, that's quite a bit more than Hometown Circle we're talking then. Okay, I feel better about it. I couldn't tell how far that was. All right, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Manley?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question on the timing of all of these buildings and when we can anticipate traffic. Is the hotel, do we know when that would come online at this point?
Mr. Sayre?
I think the intention is to start the hotel this year. I think the plan is to probably bring back probably a scaled down project here in the very near future with the hotel. I think with the 232 rooms. I think tentatively I think the developer's looking at coming back with that project and reducing that number. But I believe their intention here is still to start that project. I think it's sometime in the summer.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions, comments, potential action? Any potential motions? This would be Plan Commission action. Mr. Manley?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll make a motion to approve.
And Mr. Manley, are you including the contingency that was placed?
Yes, sorry.
And the contingency is access to Liberty Drive shall not be permitted until the Common Council releases the access restriction from the Liberty Business Park plat. We have a motion by Mr. Manley. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Heinzen. Questions or comments on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no. And that motion carries. Thank you. We are on agenda item number 11, which is, we're not looking at any action this evening, which is initial site plan review for a proposed 2,401 square foot building addition to the Verona Veterinary Medical Service located at 655 Half Mile Road. Mr. Sayre, if you would provide the background, please.
Thank you. Verona Vet is looking for a 2,401 square foot expansion on their existing facility on Half Mile Road. It'd be two-phased expansion. The expansion area is kind of this boxed area on the east side here, and they also have a second phase expansion on the west side. Tentatively, they're looking to start phase 1 here in 2015, and phase 2 would start most likely in 2016, 2017, and possibly 2018. Phase 1 is obviously the initial push right now with the future planning of the facility in place. From a bulk standpoint, the property is zoned UI, which is urban industrial. I will point out the site is a very challenging site due to the topography. If you've been out there, it kind of sits on top of that hill. The second challenge with the site is that along with the grade, the building when it was initially constructed was kind of put in the middle of the lot, so it makes it difficult to provide a clean expansion in just one direction or in one way to doing it. So I know the applicant has worked very hard and the owner has worked very hard to kind of fit something in here that will work from a function standpoint and help the facility meet its demands. As part of the project, the applicant is looking at some parking modifications and expansion to meet parking demand. There'd be two parking areas. We'd have a parking area on the east spot over here off a Half Mile. There'd be one regular parking space and a handicap accessible space. And the second parking location would be on the west side of the facility. Access to this west side parking would be from South 9 Mound. It'd come in one way from South 9 Mound and then travel north and then exit onto Half Mile Road. The parking in this area on the west side, that would be angled parking head on straight in. What the applicant is proposing on the east side, though, is the back-in angle parking. You've seen that in some larger cities in the area have done that in the past. And the reason the applicants requesting that is a lot of the clients at the facility a lot of time load their dogs into the back of their truck or SUV, and it's just a lot easier to back into it, open it up, and take the animal out that way. Staff has no concerns that the applicant is requesting it. It's a private parking lot, so from our standpoint, we don't have any concerns in them doing that. If it were to become a major issue for the applicant in the future, there are ways that it could be modified as well, but we don't have any issues with that. Access is working out pretty nicely. It keeps people kind of from potentially backing up with the future hotel north of here, onto Half Mile Road, funneling them off of South 9 Mountain Road. Staff has no concerns with that as well. From a stormwater standpoint, the disturbed area looks like less than 20,000 square feet. A stormwater management plan will not be required for this project. However, an erosion control plan will be required prior to starting construction. The building itself, the existing kind of building will remain the same. The proposed additions will contain both composite type siding. So on the east side of the facility, it will have the composite type siding, kind of to blend with the colors that are out there right now. And then on the west side facing 9 Mountain Road, we'll have some stone composite siding, kind of just glass to kind of open it up, make it a little more inviting location. Staff has no concerns with the materials. I know the applicants worked hard on trying to get something that fits with the site and looks nice. I think the improvements they're planning here will help dress the property up as they go forward, especially with the hotel that's being constructed north of the property as well too. I know the applicant is here tonight along with the owner as well. I'm sure they're happy to answer any questions that you have, but this time staff recommends the Plan Commission review the submitted materials and provide feedback to the applicants.
Thank you, Mr. Sayre. Questions, comments from Plan Commission members? Mr. Getz, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Does staff or the owner have any concerns with what will be that lower dug-in west end and parking lot entrance with the auto repair parking and egress and access with vehicles that way?
Mr. Sayre?
So you're referring to kind of you said the access here with kind of
Either the access
In this
there
area?
and as that part of the property butts up against what would be the north part of the parking lot and ingress or egress into the auto facility there with those two driveways right next to each other, and what, if any, things separating the properties, if anybody has any concerns with traffic from there coming onto or going off of this property onto the auto traffic, since they're virtually right on top of each other there.
Yeah, I don't believe they're going to be connected. I mean, so they'll be pretty close to each other. I mean, from a staff standpoint, the auto place has probably consistent clients going in and out, probably a few every hour. I mean, from a operations standpoint, from the vet standpoint, I don't want to speak to how many clients they have, but I mean, it's not a high turnover type business. I mean, you come in with your animal, you're probably there for a half hour, 45 minutes. I think with the traffic volume we're talking here, I mean, I don't have any concerns from a staff standpoint. I'm not sure if Mr. Gunlock has any comments to that, but
Well,
Mr. Gunlock?
this new driveway, or their driveway off of South 9 Mountain Road is actually moving north somewhat from where it is existing. So, and it looks like there's approximately, from the edge of the driveway to their property line, there's approximately 10 feet. And the parking lot itself is approximately 5 feet from the lot line.
And in addition, the traffic that'll be leaving the veterinary clinic would be going to the north and
Going to
out.
the north, yes.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments, Mr. Heinzen?
Sure, I would just, I think it would be helpful to know how this is going to, I guess, change the business. Is this doubling the space that's already there? I guess it's have someone speak to that. And I guess I don't think I knew that it was a boarding facility as well.
And again, if you would introduce yourself, please.
I'm Ron Schultz, owner of Verona Veterinary Medical Service and Verona Boarding Service. It's actually is 2 businesses right now. We both exist on the one level right now. Most of the square footage is actually the Verona boarding service. The veterinary clinic takes up about 1/3, and the boarding is about 2/3.
Okay.
With the proposed additions, we will separate the businesses so that the boarding service would be on the entire upper level, and then the veterinary service would be on the lower level.
Would they be using the same entrance?
They would not.
Okay. So help me out, is it, I guess, which one would be coming off of Half Mile Road and which would be coming off of South Nine Mound?
The veterinary service would be on South Nine Mound Road.
Okay.
And the boarding service would be on, up at the east end on Half Mile Road.
Okay.
Both would be exiting onto Half Mile.
Okay. Would they be using the same parking lot necessarily?
They
or-
could, but
Okay.
not necessarily.
Okay.
Other questions for the owner?
So is it an indoor boarding?
It's indoor, yes.
Okay, and it will remain that way?
It'll remain that
Yeah,
way.
okay. Thanks, appreciate it.
Yep.
Other questions for the owner, the applicant?
No,
None?
I got a question for somebody else.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Linder.
Just to make sure so you're gonna enter off of South Nine Mound and then go north on exit off Half Mile. So is that exit that close to the intersection? I mean, maybe I'll ask Bob again here. Is that any issue? Is that close? Like, is there a blind spot if somebody's turning around and turning on Nine Mound and somebody pulling out of that driveway?
Mr. Gunlock?
Is it gonna be open enough where it's not a problem?
It's close, but because of the other constraints they have on this parcel, it's about the only thing you can do and make this workable. Yeah, it's close, but again, there's not that much traffic on South Nine Mound Road. I mean, if you go out there during the day, there's 1 or 2 cars a minute, maybe. I mean, there just isn't, and on Half Mile Road, there isn't a lot of traffic on Half Mile Road. Now, when the hotel is completed, there will be parking on the north side of the road there, angle parking. But again, that traffic for the hotel is there probably from 3:30 in the afternoon until 8 o'clock in the morning. And the vet service, their business probably starts at 8 o'clock, 8:30 in the morning and goes to 5 o'clock at night. So they both aren't going to be there at the same time the majority of the time.
Go ahead, Mr. Linder.
Yeah, I was more concerned with like going north on Nine Mound and turning right on the Half Mile, or, coming in any kind of, because that exit, if you're trying to get on the Nine Mound and you're exiting this veterinary clinic, you're gonna be basically, it's gonna be hard to angle yourself to the west, point your car to the west.
Yeah, it's going to be, there's probably enough room there to get one vehicle out and there by the stop sign, straightened out. And again, I don't see 2 or 3 vehicles coming out of the vet service at the same time. It's going to be one vehicle. And 20 minutes later, it's going to be another vehicle. And then you're going to have one coming in from the south and parking, and then in 15 minutes or so, there's going to be another vehicle leaving. So it's not heavy traffic.
Yeah, I'm not doubting that. I'm just,
Yeah.
it looks awkward.
Well,
That's what I guess I'm getting at.
yeah, it's awkward, but I think it'll work.
Mr. Getz?
Just an additional comment on that. Just the type of business there too. These are, I anticipate, or assume that this is a lot of repeat customers who are coming to the service there because they want to come to your service there. This is not like an open shopping mall or anything either. So yeah, it's awkward and uncomfortable, but I think it's a great looking building and expansion project for the limitations you have on the lot there.
Mr. Sayer, did you have some comments?
Yeah, I know the applicant, I know Mr. Frame had looked at access out there from about 4 million different ways. I'm not sure if he wants to kind of touch upon what you looked at there.
Justin Frame, JSD, a consultant to the owner. To add to that conversation, we looked at the one-way access drive, and all options kept it as a one-way access drive. We looked at both entering from Half Mile Road, and that really created even a more uncomfortable movement coming south on 9 Mound and queuing at that location, making a east turn onto Half Mile and then making an immediate turn into that driveway. Our thought was when we extend the entry, the ingress from Half Mile to closer to the south entry point, exiting that car that's waiting to exit and egress onto Half Mile Road, the thought being certainly that movement is constrained. However, it's not as uncomfortable as the movement into that driveway location. And another thought and input into that was that if there is a vehicle or traffic on Half Mile, it will cue the internal driveway or exit driveway throat back into the site as opposed to the public right-of-way and Half Mile Road, forcing that car to really remain at that driveway, private property, before it can make that movement out. So as Adam mentioned, we looked at this kind of from a multitude of options as it relates to the one-way access drive, and we felt this was something that fit within the constraints of the site from a safety and traffic standpoint.
Mr. Linder?
Thank you. Yeah, I could see where if you had the other way, one car's backing out and the other car's half in the street, or
And it would queue
pretty
back
close. Yeah, pretty
9 Mound.
quick.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if there's a way to move it to the east. I think that would be better. Better. You're looking for a view on your plans. So that's the one thing. The other thing is I look at the other boarding and only having one non-handicap parking spot. I don't know. What do you do if you got 2 people? What's going to happen? I don't know. I guess.
Right. I assume, without correcting myself, from the owner, that they would have to wait at that point or use the the west parking area. The challenge to this site is there's approximately 10 to 12 feet of grade from east to west. And from a program standpoint, something important to the owner was separating the boarding from the vet service vestibule and staging area, and henceforth why we pulled those two kind of separate of each other. And as I'm told, that the pickup and drop off for the boarding is far less than the vet service, and that those 2 stalls would accommodate their sequence of pickup and drop off.
Go ahead, Mr. Linder.
Can they park on the street on that side? I can't remember. Yes? That's probably what they're going to do.
Yeah, and certainly we want to resort to that and encourage that. I know we had that conversation when the hotel came on board, but yeah, the main objective was to separate those 2 areas, given the program use.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the topography on that. I've been there before. It's pretty steep.
Yeah, it's a challenging site, certainly.
Other questions, comments, or feedback? Go ahead, Mr. Getz.
Just to add to the street parking, I believe I recall from my travels through and around both of those streets, they're wide enough that currently they both do accommodate parking on both sides of the street, both 9 Mound and Half Mile.
Other feedback? I agree with the comments that were made. I think it's a challenging site, and I like what I've seen with what's being proposed here. I think you're making the best of the lot. So,
Thank you.
go ahead, Mr. Linder.
Does the applicant plan on adding employees with this? I was curious. Okay. Thank you.
Any other feedback? Not seeing any at this point. We look forward to having you return here with more details in the future. Thank you. We are on agenda item number 12, which is Planning Department announcements. Mr. Sayer, anything to add?
The only announcement I have is I believe the Park Commission approved the lighting of the lacrosse fields in Community Park there. And that's something that's not going to come before the Plan Commission. I just wanted to let you know that that was approved, and I believe they're going to match the poles that are at the baseball diamonds. And I think Mr. Getz could probably speak to more if you have questions. But looked at it from a planning standpoint, and lights are allowed in that district. And to be honest, I wasn't sure what kind of comments would come out of talking about light poles, especially if the park board looked at it. So just wanted to make you aware of it. That'll be going forward here at some point in the near future.
Thank you, Mr. Sayre. No other business before us. A motion to adjourn would be in order. We have a motion by Mr. Manley to adjourn. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Heinzen. All those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried, and we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.